Welcome to Theatre 1, everyone. What a fantastic opening of the day. Our first session in this track is going to be by Professor of Finance at the Indian School of Business and Research at UCLA Anderson, Bhagwan Chowdhry. He will today share his thoughts with us on the importance of skill mapping and how blockchain can actually accentuate and, in fact, simplify the process. With changing organization structures and talent strategies, we all will agree that there is a need currently to upskill, to reskill, and in fact, to even hire new talent. And blockchain technology can really help the government and corporates with the challenge of skill mapping. Really excited to welcome Professor Bhagwan. But just before I pass the screen to Professor Bhagwan, let me remind you to keep sharing your learnings from different sessions and networking experience with the outer community on Twitter. And of course, you get a chance to win a Fossil Sports watch every day. Let's welcome Professor Bhagwan. Over to you, sir.
In the old Vedic system in India, they divided life into four parts. The first part was Brahmacharya ashram, the second was Grihastha. The third one was Vanprasthashram, and the last one was Sannyasashram. When the English came 200 years ago, they created an education system for us. So the first part of the education system was you go to school and then you start working. So kind of like Brahmacharya ashram and Grihastha ashram. Except I think they messed up because the education system they created was such that when you were in school, you learned, but you did no work, only learning. When you went into the job, you worked, but there was no learning. This was not quite what the Vedic system was doing. In the Vedic system, in the Brahmacharya ashram, in the Gurukul tradition, in addition to learning, there was also work. It was called apprenticeship. So the British system we got is not quite what we had in Vedic system. And guess what? This on and off, learn and then work, and not mixing the two is not working for us. Why is it not working? Firstly, if you look at the fresh graduates, often the employers who hire them say they have no skills. They have very little skills. They are not ready for the job. Then, on the other hand, when you talk to people who are in jobs, what they will tell you is they're bored out of mind at jobs. They wait for Fridays to come. Thank God it's Friday. And there are Monday morning blues. So they go to work, but they're not excited about doing the work. So we need to change something. What do we need to change? Well, we need to change this on and off and make it into more like a dial. So, what we need is we need to be ready for a world that is changing because skills get outdated and people are bored at their jobs and the world is changing. You remember many years ago, we used to have these phone booths called PCOs. Imagine you got trained for PCOs. Where are PCOs now? Nowhere to be found. Many years ago, we used to have the secretarial job where we had stenographers. Stenographers. The young people don't even know what stenographers mean. So, jobs are changing, the skills are changing too. So, what we need to do is this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build up my idea with 10 insights. The first insight is that learning is a continuous process. It's not on and off. It's not that you learn, but you don't work, but when you work, you don't learn. You can learn while you're working, and you can work while you're learning. So it's not on and off, it's more like a dial that you can dial up or dial down. So when you're young, you dial up the learning mode. And when you're older working, you can dial down the learning mode. But it doesn't have to go in one direction only, you can change it. For example, even while you're working, you can go back and learn some more. Now, in the Vedic system, that happened in the third phase of life, the sannyas ashram. After you became grahasthir, you went to sannyas ashram to get some more wisdom. In the modern parlance, we call it executive education. But it doesn't have to be that way. Even that is outmoded. What we need is a continuous learning process that you can dial up and down whenever it is needed. Inside, too, the old labels that we had are not particularly useful. What do I mean by labels? Well, you go to school, you go to college, and you get a BA or you get a BCom. Those labels, BA and BComs, are not very useful. What we really need to know is, what can I do? What are my skills? Can I do machine learning or not? Can I do AI or not? Can I type at a very fast speed or not? Can I weld well or not? So the skills that I can exhibit need to be there, and we need these new labels which are more meaningful. So that's our insight too, that we need to have these labels that change continuously. Okay? As you go and acquire more skills, you acquire more labels. So what's insight number three then? We need to create a record of our skills. In other words, it's no good for just you to know that you are a good welder. It's no good for only your neighbors to know you are a welder. I need to create a record in which people recognize I'm a good welder or I'm a good machine learning person. So we need to create a record of it. Now you might say, oh, but we have LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where all my record is. Well, there's difference because LinkedIn has record of what you say. And is that really credible? There was a joke I heard that LinkedIn is a platform where people who hardly know you endorse you for skills you don't have. In other words, it's not credible. So even when you get a job, you have LinkedIn profile, people who hire you, they still have to call people and ask you how good you are. So it's just a record, but it's not really a credible record. What we need is a record that's credible, that is based on real experiences. How do you make it credible? Now, look at how Amazon or eBay or Zomato or Yelp, how do they create these ratings? Well, even there can be fake ratings. You could not read a book and you can say, go on Amazon and give it 5 star. So Amazon said, we are going to create what's called a verified buyer. So what we need with skills is something similar. It has to be a verified employment, and the ratings that you get on that employment have to be verified. That's what is going to make it credible. Okay, so that is one thing. But then you might say, but then I'm hostage to people who are giving me ratings. Like if I'm a restaurant and there is a customer who got mad at me, he could give me a bad rating. And then I'm stuck with that rating. How do we get around that idea? Well, for that, what we need is, we need a big numbers in which the records cannot be a small number phenomena. You can't have just two people recommending you. You need to have hundreds of people recommending you. Like in Yelp, like in Amazon, when I see 1,000 or 5,000 people are saying it's a good book, one or two disgruntled people here and there is not going to make a difference. So we need a record that has big numbers. many records, not just one or two, not just a BA or BCom, but several opportunities you have had. So, insight number five then, the records about me, where am I going to keep them? Am I going to create a long list of paper? No. These records I should be able to carry with me wherever I go. In other words, it's not good that only people in my village know what I can do. I should be able to carry it to wherever I go. So, insight number five is these records have to be portable. How do you make it portable? Well, a simple way to do it is to make it digital. You've heard a lot about digitality, the digitalization of the country. That is needed because with digital record, I can carry it with me wherever I need it, whenever I need it. Now you might say, well, that's great. Digital is good news, isn't it? Well, it's good news and bad news. Good news is that because it's digital, it can be stored in the cloud, which means I can access it from anywhere because it's in the cloud. But that's also the bad news. Why? Because if it is in the cloud, it might be hacked. We all know that things that are recorded digitally can be hacked. Every day or the other, you hear news about some records were hacked or something was downloaded illegally from different servers. So we need to create something so that these things are not hackable. Okay, so that's what we need. We need to create a record that's credible and that's permanent and that cannot be hacked. So, how do I do that? Well, that's where we get blockchain technology. What does blockchain do? Blockchain creates records, seals them up using cryptography and mathematics, and hides them in a very big, very large mathematical space. So think about I'm hiding that information somewhere in the universe, but only I know where I've hidden it. That's what the blockchain technology does. So if I'm the only one who knows where I have hidden it, I can take it out whenever I want it, but nobody else will stumble on it accidentally. That's what blockchain does. So, blockchain creates records that are permanent, that are indelible, that cannot be changed, and we give them a unique identification number like an Aadhaar number, also known as secure hash algorithm, SHA-256, and then we go and hide it somewhere so that only those who have the key or the GPS location or the Aadhaar number can retrieve it whenever we want it. That's what a blockchain technology does. Now you might say, cryptography, I'm not so sure because you are saying it's non hackable, but now we are going to have quantum computers. Well, yes, quantum computers are making it easy to do faster calculation, but the same quantum technology that makes computers really strong will also make our cryptography strong. So now we have quantum cryptographies. So the beauty of mathematics is as we want to make it harder and harder to decrypt, it is possible to do that. Because the mathematical space is not limited, we can make it as hard as we want. So as it becomes easy to hack, we dial up the difficulty. And that's what the blockchain technology allows us to do. Okay. Insight number 9. So, what have we done? We have created an extended version of your identity. What's your identity right now? It's digital. It's already digital with Aadhaar. But Aadhaar only tells people who you are. What we are going to create is something in which people know who you are and what you can do and what you have learned, what your experiences are, and what other people are willing to say about you, what other people can credibly vouch about you. It's a long record, it's digital, it's blockchain secured, and that becomes part of your larger identity. So, this is going to be what I call a digital passport. It's going to be a passport because it's a record that you port with you, and it tells people what you can or cannot do. So, we'll call it skill passport, or in short, we can call it your skill port. Okay. Insight number 10 then. Who will have control over the skill passport? And at ISB, where I'm heading what's called Digital Identity Research Initiative, our thought is that your identity is yours. You choose to decide what other people can see. So if I want the banker only to know how much money I have, he should be able to take only that information out. When I go to a bar where there's an age limit, that person should only be able to take out whether I'm old enough to drink or not. So I don't have to reveal my entire identity to everybody. I get to control it, and I decide who gets to see what. If I go to a doctor, he should only be able to see my health records, and so on and so forth. Now that we have digital means, we can design it in such a way that from my skill passport or my skill port, only the relevant information can be extended. So, my insight number 10 is your identity is your own. But we are going to go one step further because this is a lot of data. What we can do is we can take that data, anonymize it, and then aggregate it together. So I'll take Bhagwan's record, and I'll take Soumya's record, and I'll take Shilpa's record. I will remove the identification and then put it together and create what's known as indices that are aggregate. What are these indices? These are indices that will tell us the pulse of the nation. It will tell us where the economic activity is happening. It will tell us what the health situation of the country is or a different region is. So now we will create aggregate indices which don't have any identifying information, although the identity is my own. And finally, when we have this, we will be able to match jobs with skills. We will know where the jobs are. We'll know what jobs are needed, and we know where the skills are and who are the people who have those skills. And if we have both streams, we will be able to create a good match. And I think that will create more jobs and more growth in the economy. So, we are entering a new world. Skill passport is different. It's digital, it's credible, it's verified. That creates an identity. I take the identity, anonymize it, put it together, aggregate it. That creates indices that belong not just to private companies. They don't belong only to Amazon or Geo or to the government. They are what we call public good. Anybody should be able to see those indices and get a pulse of the nation. Where is the economic activity? Where are the jobs? Where is it lacking? How can we create a match between jobs and skills? So be ready for the new world, Skillport. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Professor Bhagwan. We will surely work towards skill passport creation and leveraging the multifaceted uses of blockchain. Thank you once again. For those who pre-registered for the Q&A with Bhagwan, can join him in the speaker room. You can ask your questions face to face with him. We will also have Shakun Khanna, Head of HCM Applications, Asia Pacific Oracle, who is going to join us along with Professor Chaudhry. So you can be there. Please join me on the next session. The link for Tech in Action session with Alex Margaret from ServiceNow, you'll find it in the agenda. Thank you and see you there.